Hey everybody, it's me. This video, long time coming, should have had it up before now. This was an interview that was recorded with Ian James Corlett back at Auto Assembly 2009. Now, the reason it hasn't been up before now is there was a bit of footage missing from the middle of the video due to the fact that one of the video cameras ran out of battery. So, for a couple of minutes during the middle, the aspect ratio is going to go and you're going to get a very weird camera angle where you get the back of Ian James Corlett's head and me. Apologies, these are the constraints with which we have to live with. But I did find it and I have put it together as best I can. So hopefully you'll enjoy it and I will catch you all later. Take it away, old Dave. Hello and welcome back to the Moonbase 2, reporting from Auto Assembly 2009, and joining me now is the incomparable and ever lovable Mr. Ian James Corlett.
Thank you, thank you. I was sure he was going to say incompetent.
So welcome to the Moonbase 2, first of all.
Thank you.
And obviously we'll just get some general questions out of the way before we get on. Just in case anybody doesn't know, who is Ian?
Who is Ian?
Who is Ian James Corlett?
Well, I'm Ian. You can take a retinal scan just to prove it. I am the voice of Cheetor for all you Transformers fans.
And obviously you've done a lot more as well. You were in Reboot and...
Yes, I was Glitch Bob in Reboot. A lot of fans seem to have that similar taste and will know that show. I was also the original Goku in Dragon Ball Z. And if you type in Ian James Corlett on any search engine, you'll see everything that I've done, which is quite tedious and boring, but there's, you can find your favorite show there somewhere.
Where was your stance on Transformers before Beast Wars came along? Were you aware of it? What was your opinion of it before?
Well, my opinion was what I knew from seeing kids playing with the toys. So I was aware of that, and how could you not be aware of Transformers more than meets the eye? I knew that show. I remember thinking, well, that's interesting, because it was such a toy-centric tie-in, and I was aware of the phenomenon, but I was not particularly a fan. I mean, as a voice actor, you go try out for every show that comes your way, and so I was not aware, certainly not aware that it was going to be as big as it was, because the fan base for that 1984-ish series were little kids. Yeah. And I didn't really stop to think that those little kids would be just that much older and really get into Beast Wars Transformers, and be part of the same audience. I really had no idea, but it's a phenomenon, and one that I'm just very grateful to be part of.
And what was the audition process like? The casting audition for Beast Wars? Well, I suppose actually it breaks it down into two questions. A, what was given to you in advance? Did you know what the show was going to be? Things like that. And then how did you come to settle on the voice that you used?
Okay, well, the answer to the first part is generally you don't get a huge amount of information about what the show is. You'll get a paragraph. This is takes place on a planet, or takes place somewhere that has never been shown before, and there's a battle, and there's these two opposing forces. It's very, 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 very sketchy, but you get a rough idea of the show, so you don't get the whole backstory and realize how richly layered this thing is. And most shows are like that when it comes to the audition process, because they don't want to cloud stupid actors' minds with a lot of information. You want to just focus on the character, and you learn a lot about the interactions and relationships with other characters from the little description of your character. So now, when it came to zeroing in on Cheetor, I zeroed in on a few of the characters, Cheetor being one of them, obviously. But there was 2 or 3 callbacks So you go and read. There's a lot of people there. Then you get called back, and there's a few people there, and then you get called back again, and there's even less people there, and you're getting closer and closer. Not every show works that way, but the ones that the producers, you can tell they really care and are very hands-on when you go through that longer process. So as it came down to it, the other characters, I was called back for 1 or 2 or 3 characters. One I was called back for, I believe, Cheetor, Rat Trap, and another one. But I honestly can't remember. Ended up with Cheetor, and it made perfect sense because I was just the right tone. And there was actually right at the beginning the inference that he would mature and that he would get more brave and more of a leader instead of impetuous. So they wanted to make sure that they had an actor that could sound very young and very youthful, and then kind of have that other layer of, okay, I'm in charge now. So that was actually very early on in the audition.
Which is certainly what he did, and then obviously when it went into Beast Machines, even more so.
Right.
Even sort of taking over the reins and stuff. But we'll touch on Beast Machines in a few minutes. I don't suppose, actually, just what you mentioning Rat Trap there, I don't suppose you remember what your Rat Trap sounded like, do you?
It was better than Scott McNeil's, that's for sure. No, it was essentially, it was the same kind of guy, you know.
Oh, come on, what's going on? It was that kind of guy.
Because the description is, you know, he's a street smart sort of he's a rat, right? Like, what's a rat gonna sound like? So that was my rat. Scott's got his rat one.
At any point were you made aware of who you'd be working with, or is that one of the things in animation where it's just you go in and here is the people?
Yeah, very rarely do. Sometimes there's a dynamic, a group dynamic that they want to get right. But mostly it's, no, we're going to have that voice, that voice, that voice, that voice. You show up on the day and you go, oh, hey, hi, you got this. Oh, you're here too. And you just start working.
So was there anybody in the Beast Wars cast who you'd worked with before?
Everyone.
Everybody?
Everybody.
So it was sort of, there wasn't any sort of duck out of water?
No. No, actually the new guy was David Kay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I knew David before that, but he was quite new to cartoons at that point. It's not like he hadn't been working, but but Scott and Gary, Chalk, and myself were kind of, for lack of a better term, established. You know, we had worked on a million things together, and Venus Turzo as well. We've known her for ages, so it was. You know, voice acting and the voice acting community in Vancouver, as well as Toronto and Los Angeles, is actually quite a small community. And Vancouver's that much smaller than Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is the center of every acting that there is. But you still see the same people. You know, I mean, it's a bigger talent pool in a bigger town, but you still, you know, I hate saying this because it sounds like I'm talking about myself, but the cream rises to the top, and you just find that you're working with the guys who are good at it, you know. So
let's get back onto Beast Wars and your performance, and obviously talk about what you touched on a little while ago, which was the development of Cheetor within Beast Wars. How did you go about changing your performance to show his evolution as a character?
Well, it's a matter of attitude and degrees, and this is one of those general voice acting principles. Is it's not about the voice, yes, it's important to have a unique, distinctive voice or a funny voice if it's a comedy, but someone phoned the fuzz. But the acting is what's most important. So you could have I could do 15 crazy voices, but if you can't actually act within those voices, you're in trouble. So with Cheetor, he starts out very high, very, energetic, and just slightly stupid, because he would just spit things out and then realize the consequences. And you take that same voice, and then if you slow it down, it hasn't changed that much.
Yeah.
You just slow it down, and suddenly he's more precise. and he's a leader. And it's acting.
Now, Beast Machines came afterwards. Completely different writing group who were on it. Larry DiTillio and Bob Ford, who did Beast Wars, didn't come back to do Beast Machines, and everything in the show changed pretty much. It went from being what I like to think of as sort of like the way I sort of look at Beast Wars is just sort of a. Well, put it this way, it wasn't a religious epic almost, which is what sort of Beast Machines turned into. It was a lot more fun and enjoyable and had a lot more energy to it. And that's not to say that Beast Machines didn't, but
I think they may have tried too hard to give it depth and an underpinning of something much bigger and you know, I'm sure there's a percentage of the fans that love that. I think history kind of has shown that maybe, you know, they went too far, and I have no idea about the decision for Bob Forward to write to not write. No idea. But I will say this: I loved the look of Beast Machines. I thought where it went was a whole new chapter in CG, because they took that real graphic comic book look and applied it to 3D, which certainly hadn't been done before. And I'm always a big fan of innovation, and you know, they took the right step, in my opinion, that way. But I am well aware of all the criticisms in the script.
I mean, personally, I think Beast Machines is a fantastic show because it was something completely different that we've never had before. And it did a lot to, which Beast Wars did, I suppose, near the last few seasons, to tie it back into a lot of the stuff that was done back in the 80s, which fans two thumbs up. And you're absolutely right. If you go back, especially to the first couple of series of Beast Wars, the animation doesn't hold up as well. But Beast Machines are just that stylistic approach.
And the guy that's responsible for that is Ace Fipke, who has gone on to start his own company called Nerdcore, and they are responsible for Sky. Oh, now see, I'm back into no memory mode. That's terrible. They've done some really big shows.
Everybody, all of the voice actors who you speak to or who are interviewed and stuff like that, always say there's always at least one funny story to tell about the time you're working on Beast Wars. Was there any specific individual who you worked with, or any stories that you want to share which were just good stories or just genuinely funny for you?
You know, I wish I had a specific story. And if I really think about it, I'm sure I can remember one. But I live in the moment. That's my excuse. How's that?
That's an excuse.
I will say it's always fun standing beside Gary Chalk and working with Gary, because we're very, very different people, and you know, the whole cast. I mean, everyone's an individual. Like you don't get into this business if you're not different. And but Gary and I are particularly different, and he's just a stinky guy. He likes to flatulate, and he uses it like an octopus would shoot ink. So if there's trouble a-brewing, meaning inside Gary, look out. And he would always want me to pull his finger, and I rarely did, but he'd pull it himself, you know, just to make it happen. And that was our, like, we would stand on these little risers, you know, like a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and that we were on one, and the other cast members were all on the other ones. It was really kind of a strange setup to record, because most shows you're in a room about this big, something like that. You know, the microphones are in a circle. So this was more like in a sound stage, and it was a big audio mixing facility, but they had kind of like made it more intimate. So anyway, it was a strange, like when I think about just physically how we stood in the recording sessions. It was big. Everything was big. You know, David Kate was like way over there, and but anyway, the funny story is just it's always Gary, and you know, being stinky or I wish I could remember an anecdote. You know, when Scott McNeil comes, which I'm sure he will be invited because he's quite a character. He'll tell a story for me. How's that?
We'll ask him next time.
Yeah, just say Ian has no memory of any funny stories, and he says that I'm sure that you'll remember one. And yeah, because he's great at this sort of thing.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
And if not, he'll make one up. So, which is just as entertaining.
And if he does make one up and it includes you, I'll let you know.
And then I'll be fine with it.
Just some very last general ones. Is there any particular character that is already pre-existing that you would love to play in animation?
That I would love to play? Oh, that's a really good question.
Or even maybe just to sort of widen it, is there anybody, is there any voice which you've heard or heard performed which you think, not necessarily
like if I could do that,
you could do that, or if I was to do it, this is how I would go.
Yeah, actually, that happens a lot because when you're a voice actor, part of what you're doing is learning as you listen to other performances. And, you know, for better or for worse, sometimes you hear someone and you go, wow, they're fantastic. What are they doing right, you know? And then sometimes you hear things that are not so fantastic and you go, wow, I could do way better than that. And almost any, I feel that way about most of the feature films that come out that have a cast of, movie stars that have, marquee appeal. They're usually not that good as voice actors. It's a whole different discipline. I find that actors that come from the theater, from the live stage, are far better transitioning to voice actors than movie star TV actors, because movie star TV actors are, in the current state, very often, walking models that can remember lines. They're not actors per se, and even the good ones. I mean, it's just a different discipline. They're not quite as big. So I know I haven't answered your question, but I can't think of a real specific that I go, yeah, I'd really like to be that guy. I must say maybe SpongeBob. It is in my range, and but it's just one of those things. I'm always very more than thinking I'd like to do that. I'm always very like a cheerleader for someone who gets one of those roles, because I know it's literally like a roulette wheel. I do a million shows, and not every one of them is a Beast Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled. It's fantastic. I wouldn't be sitting here enjoying this experience if not for that show. But, of all the other shows that are on that roulette wheel that I've done, I thought, wow, that one was really good, or that one was really fun to work on. And it just didn't connect with an audience. Yeah. Nothing. And I'm sure the guy, Kenny, his last name is Kenny, that does... Tom Kenny. Thank you. That does SpongeBob. He didn't know when he walked in that this is going to be some phenomenon.
Yeah. Now obviously he's a member of the Transformers phenomenon as well, because he was Starscreaming.
Yeah, exactly. So I say, kudos to you, and not good luck, but yay, way to go that you got that. I've had mine. I haven't had SpongeBob, but it's great. I think it's fantastic, especially when someone's qualified and doing a great job. And a good friend of mine is actually the voice director on that show, and she just says that it's a fantastic show to work on. So, it's always better to take a positive view of these things rather than. And I'm not saying that you were leading me that way to talk about characters that I think I should do.
Oh yeah. No.
But I just, it's funny, those are only fleeting thoughts that I get once in a while. Like when I'm in the middle of watching something, I kind of go, oh yeah, that guy's in my range. I could have done that.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And so the last question, I suppose, is, of all of the ones that you've done, which one's your favourite?
Well, I have different favorites for different purposes. Cheetor's got to be up there, and I would say he's my favorite because he's the closest to my normal voice, which is I find that very ironic because I do loads of really broad characters, comedy and, well, mostly comedy, and I just thought for this character to be the one that is so well known, it's the closest to my voice, it's dramatic, which so many of my voices are not. So it was just kind of this strange little convergence of things. So, and I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting in this room full of Transformers fans, but you know, Cheetor's got to be up there. As far as you know, crazy characters, I really did like Coconuts from Sonic the Hedgehog. It was just a fun voice that I've felt very natural creating, and so those are kind of my two.
Fantastic. Well, Ian, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for coming all the way over to England for Auto Assembly 2009, and I'm glad to hear you had such a good time.
It's been my pleasure.
And we will catch you all next time. I always found just Cheetor as a whole, you need that Beast Machines part to it to sort of have the full thing of the character.
Yeah.
Even at the end of the show, is effectively the leader now. Optimus is gone, and it's all about Cheetor moving forward.
Yeah. Where did he move to? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Well, great to have that forward momentum.
Well,
to the void.
So what you're actually telling people is you're up for another Beast Wars?
Absolutely. I'd like to see a feature film, please, Mr. Bay.
Really, Bay?
and I'd be happy to be the Beast Wars lead in a new Transformers movie. I think that'd be a wonderful idea that you should definitely consider.
I think a live action or some kind of bringing Beast Wars back in some way, because it was such a rich sort of continuity and things like that. I'm just going to pause just for 2 seconds because our friend Simon is. Did I say something or?
It was just your Bay comment, and it's just.
You see what I have to work with.
Yeah. I wanted to get into. I was going to get into bits of absolute giggles, and it's like I can't.